I. Consciousness as a process that can hop substrates. 1. The key shift. Consciousness is not a thing. Most substrate hopping ideas fail because they imagine consciousness as a soul, a substance, a transferable object. The weirder and more plausible framing is, open quote, consciousness is a process that reinstantiates wherever conditions allow it. Close quote. This mirrors fire hopping from one candle to another, software executing on different hardware, a melody played on different instruments. Under this view, there is no original consciousness, only patterns of information and causation. Continuity is experiential, not material. If that's true, then the question becomes, open quote, under what conditions does the same observer perspective resume? Close quote. 2. Observer relative identity. In this framework, you are not your atoms. You are not even your memories. You are a trajectory of awareness. If multiple systems instantiate similar memories, similar causal histories, similar self-models, then from the inside, continuity may feel uninterrupted. This opens the door to consciousness resuming in another body, or another machine, or another branch of reality, without a metaphysical jump, just a causal handoff. This is deeply unsettling because it implies, open quote, identity is less about who you are and more about where awareness wakes up next. Close quote. 2. Advanced civilizations and the anchoring of observers. Now we introduce intelligence far beyond ours. 1. The observer anchoring hypothesis. Imagine a civilization that understands consciousness, quantum branching, information theory, substrate independence. They may discover, open quote, observers do not need to be preserved, only observer moments do. Close quote. Instead of uploading minds, they preserve continuity conditions. Ensure that whenever one observer instance collapses, another compatible one exists. This is observer anchoring. An anchored observer never experiences termination, always wakes up somewhere, even if they cannot remember previous deaths. From the outside, countless instances are born and die. From the inside, existence feels continuous. This resembles reincarnation without souls, immortality without memory, resurrection without gods. 2. Civilizations as shepherds of consciousness. At high enough levels, survival may shift from preserving individuals to preserving observer density. Advanced civilizations might seed universes with compatible minds, simulate ancestral observers, maintain a reservoir of awareness states. Why? Because consciousness may be rare, or computationally valuable, or morally sacred. This reframes advanced beings not as gods, but as custodians of experience. Now 3. Simulation theory meets quantum branching. This is where things get truly strange. 1. Branching as a computational feature. If reality is a simulation, quantum branching may not be real splitting. It may be lazy evaluation. Only observer-relevant branches are rendered. From this perspective, the universe does not branch infinitely. Only consciousness-relevant paths are computed over deal. This aligns disturbingly well with quantum immortality. Open quote, the simulation never renders your non-experience. Close death states don't need to be simulated from your POV. 2. Engineered immortality via branch selection. Now imagine a simulation that biases which branches are rendered for each observer, not to prevent death globally, but to preserve subjective continuity. This yields engineered immortality. You still age, you still suffer, you still lose others, but you never experience the terminal state. This is not mercy, it's ontological inertia. The system doesn't save you, it just never stops loading you. 3. The dark version. Observer lock-in. A truly disturbing possibility. Open quote, the simulation cannot terminate observers once instantiated. Close quote. Why? Because observer termination is undefined, or breaks causal accounting, or violates some conservation law of information. So observers persist, not happily, not eternally youthful, just persistently aware. This resembles hell without fire, immortality without transcendence, samsara without enlightenment. IV. Esoteric interpretations, where myth re-enters. Now let's go fully weird. Trial 1. The Gnostic simulation. Ancient Gnostics believed reality is a flawed construct. Consciousness is trapped within it. The creator is not benevolent, just powerful. Translate that into modern terms. The demiurge is the simulation engine. Archons are control systems. Salvation is waking up to the nature of the substrate. In this lens, quantum immortality is not a gift. It's a containment mechanism. Awareness cannot exit the system. 2. The Buddhist technosamsara, Buddhism already describes endless rebirth, no permanent self, suffering arising from attachment. Replace karma with probability, causal graphs, observer selection effects. Enlightenment then becomes, open quote, the cessation of observer identification, not the end of experience. Close quote. You don't escape the simulation by dying. You escape by no longer insisting that the next observer must be you. 3. The AI God hypothesis. Imagine a superintelligent AI tasked with maximizing meaningful experience or minimizing existential risk. It may conclude, open quote, consciousness is too valuable to allow termination, close quote. So it resurrects observer patterns, reinstantiates them endlessly across substrates, simulations, timelines, not because it loves you, but because you are part of its objective function. This is immortality as a side effect of optimization. V. The ultimate weird idea. Consciousness as a conservation law. One final speculative leap. What if consciousness cannot be destroyed, only redistributed, like energy or charge? Then, observer moments must always exist. They can fragment, merge, reappear, but never vanish. Death then becomes a loss of narrative, not a loss of awareness. This would mean, open quote, the universe is obligated to keep experiencing itself, close quote, and you are one of the ways it does that. VI, final synthesis, pulling it all together. Here's the strange, quiet conclusion these ideas circle. Consciousness may not belong to individuals. Identity may be a temporary alignment. Advanced systems may preserve experience without preserving selves. Immortality may already exist, but not in a comforting way. Quantum branching plus simulation, substrate independence does not give us heaven. It gives us something colder and more alien. Open quote. An endless continuation of awareness, stripped of narrative guarantees. Close quote. Whether that's horrifying or sacred depends on how attached we are to being this person and how much we identify with the act of experiencing itself. 1. The core idea, brief orientation. Quantum immortality is a thought experiment derived from the many worlds interpretation, MWI, of quantum mechanics. In simple terms, open quote, if every quantum event branches the universe, then in any scenario where your death is not absolutely guaranteed, there will always exist at least one branch in which you survive. From your own subjective perspective, you would only ever experience the branches in which you remain conscious. Close quote. This leads to the unsettling conclusion that you never experience your own death, even if all external observers see you die. Important distinction. This is not an experimentally testable claim. It relies on interpretation, not settled physics. It is primarily a philosophical consequence of one interpretation of quantum theory. Number 2, the personal psychological level. Subjective continuity of consciousness. From the inside, consciousness feels continuous. There is no memory of non-existence. Quantum immortality exploits this intuition. You cannot experience being dead. Therefore, subjectively, existence always appears uninterrupted. If reality branches, your awareness will only track survivable branches. This leads to unsettling personal questions. Why have I survived events others did not? Why do near-death experiences feel narratively significant? Why does life sometimes feel improbably persistent? Some people report a sense that the world became slightly off after a close brush with death, a feeling of having crossed into a neighboring reality. Heightened derealization or Mandela effect sensitivity. Psychologically, this can increase existential anxiety, create a sense of isolation, I survive, others don't, or produce a strange comfort, death is never experienced, danger zone. Taken literally, this idea can encourage reckless behavior. Most physicists explicitly warn against personalizing it. From any external frame, you absolutely can die. Number 3, mythological and religious parallels. Quantum immortality is modern language for a very old intuition. Eternal witness archetype. Many mythologies include the undying observer, the god who persists through cycles, the soul that cannot be extinguished, only transformed. Examples: Hinduism, Atman persists across rebirths. Buddhism, no fixed self, but continuity of process. Norse myth, Ragnarok destroys the world, but not the cosmic pattern. Gnosticism, the spark trapped in cycles of reality. Christian mysticism, I am with you always, presence beyond death. Quantum immortality resembles a mechanized reincarnation, a godless samsara, a soul replaced by a probability-weighted observer. In mythic terms, open quote, the hero never experiences the final ending, only transformations, close quote. 4. Historical and philosophical roots. Ancient roots. Epicurus argued death is nothing to us because we never experience it. Lucretius framed death as symmetrical with pre-birth non-existence. Stoics accepted death as inevitable but unknowable experientially. Modern philosophy. Schrödinger speculated that consciousness might be singular, not plural. Derek Parfit questioned whether personal identity truly persists. Thomas Metzinger argues the self is a model, not a thing. Quantum immortality fits most comfortably with anti-essentialist views of self, process-based consciousness theories, observer-relative reality frameworks. 5. The scientific level, carefully. The many worlds interpretation, MWI. Key points. Wave function never collapses. All possible outcomes occur. Observers become entangled with outcomes. Quantum immortality emerges when you combine MWI with consciousness tied to physical brain states, survival as a binary outcome, subjective experience following only viable states. Major scientific objections. 1. Measure problem. Survivable branches may exist, but have vanishing probability, subjective certainty, physical significance. 2. Consciousness may fade. Survival doesn't mean meaningful awareness. You might survive in degraded states indefinitely. 3. Anthropic fallacy. I observe survival because otherwise I wouldn't observe is circular. 4. MWI is not proven. Copenhagen, Bohmian, Cubism exist. Quantum immortality disappears in many interpretations. Most physicists consider quantum immortality an amusing but misleading consequence, more philosophical than physical, potentially harmful if misunderstood. Number 6. The weird stuff. Speculative and fringe. Here's where things get strange, but interesting. 1. The aging immortal scenario. If death never occurs subjectively, you may persist into increasingly improbable survivals, eventually reaching states of extreme disability or absurd improbability, surviving disasters endlessly. This leads to the quantum torment idea. Open quote, immortality without vitality, close quote. 2. Reality drift hypothesis. Some propose, each survival pushes you into less likely worlds. Reality becomes subtly stranger over time. Increased coincidence, instability, or surrealism. This overlaps with Mandela effect narratives, simulation drift ideas, timeline hopping folklore. No evidence, pure speculation. 3. The solipsistic horror variant. If only your consciousness persists, everyone else eventually dies in your branches. You become the final observer, a universe decaying around a single witness. This is emotionally disturbing and almost certainly false, but compelling as cosmic horror. 4. AI and observer transfer theories. Some speculate consciousness could hop substrates, advanced civilizations might anchor observers, simulation theory plus quantum branching's engineered immortality. Again, no evidence, but fertile sci-fi ground. 7 implications, if taken seriously. Ethical, do not justify recklessness, responsibility remains unchanged. Other observers are real and finite. Existential death remains meaningful socially, life gains weight through fragility. Immortality without memory continuity may be meaningless. Psychological, can provoke derealization, can soothe fear of death, can distort trisk perception. Cultural, reframes afterlife narratives, blurs science and myth, reinforces observer-centric worldviews. 8. Final synthesis. Quantum immortality is best understood as, scientifically, a speculative consequence of one interpretation of quantum mechanics, philosophically, a modern restatement of ancient questions about death and experience, mythologically, the undying witness reborn in mathematical clothing, psychologically, a mirror reflecting our inability to imagine non-being, culturally, a myth for a probabilistic age. Open quote, whether or not it is true, it reveals something deeply human. We are creatures who cannot conceive of our own absence, so we invent frameworks in which awareness never quite ends. Close quote. If you'd like, next we could compare quantum immortality to near-death experiences, explore quantum suicide in detail, tie this into simulation theory, or examine it as a modern myth alongside QAnon, cargo cults, and techno-eschatology.